Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Suzanne Peterson. Joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraft woman Melanie Hudson. We warmly welcome the family of Flying Officer John Goulburn Lancaster, whose story will be told shortly. We warmly welcome Group Captain Ernie Walsh, President of the Air Force Association ACT Division. We warmly welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of the ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, students on behalf of St Catherine's Catholic Public School from Wishart, Queensland, and Wongatha Christian Aboriginal Parent-Directed School from Gibson, Western Australia. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them till the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they'd done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flying Officer John Goulburn Lancaster. John Lancaster was born on the 16th of January 1916 in the town of Curry on Tasmania's King Island. Known as Jack, he was the eldest of 5 children born to farmer Edwin Lancaster and his wife Gwen. Jack grew up on King Island and was educated at the local state school. At the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, Jack was living in Melbourne, working as a clerk for the Bank of Australia and serving in the local militia. Jack Lancaster enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 26th of April 1941. He began his training near Sydney before travelling to Cootamundra, where he trained as an air observer. He later completed a course in bombing and air gunnery before earning his observer's badge on the 13th of November. Jack Lancaster next attended the Air Navigation School at Parkes before joining the ranks of No. 20 Squadron in April 1942. Based at Bowen in Queensland, the squadron was equipped with Catalina flying boats, which they used to conduct sea patrols and reconnaissance. Lancaster's first missions with No. 20 Squadron were undertaken around New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, and New Caledonia. For the remainder of 1942, the squadron was involved in seaward reconnaissance and night attacks on enemy bases in the region. In early 1943, Lancaster returned to Melbourne, where he married his fiancée, Mary Besford, on the 20th of January. The couple briefly honeymooned on Phillip Island before Lancaster returned to duty in Queensland. On the 7th of April 1943, a Japanese submarine was sighted off the coast of Arukan in far north Queensland. 2 Catalina patrols were immediately sent out, with Lancaster acting as the navigator for an 11-man crew. On completion of their patrol, Lancaster and his comrades had orders to land at Horn Island to refuel. After taking off from Cairns, however, no messages were received from Lancaster's crew until a signal addressed to Port Moresby was intercepted, which stated, "M on fire, aircraft on fire." Lancaster and the crew of his Catalina failed to return to base. The following morning, a search was carried out to locate the aircraft or any survivors. They found no trace of the crew except for an oil slick on the surface of the water, consistent with an aircraft having crashed at sea. Flying Officer Jack Lancaster and his crew were presumed dead as a result of operations over the Gulf of Carpentaria. Today, he is commemorated on the Sydney Memorial in Rookwood Necropolis, among more than 700 others who have no known grave. Flying Officer Jack Lancaster was 27 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer John Goulburn Lancaster, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and the volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.